Hello everyone. Now today I have a Eula deck for you and let's take a quick look at it. And here we have today's deck. So we are indeed running Eula with Visual and Frost Imperative, of course, to get access to the Transfiguration, no surprise there. Now, the theme of this deck, there was a simple thing I wanted to do, which in the end ended up with this deck, and that thing was I wanted to make a deck that could use the Roulette special. And I set myself a couple limitations. I mean, first of all, of course, I could have just played Yungasaurus. Like, surprise to no one, Roulette special works with Yungasaurus. But I wanted to try out, like, is there some other character, other deck than just Yungasaurus that could actually, you know, consistently get value out of Roulette special? How did that end up with Eula? Simple case. Now, of course, Roulette special, when you play it, you get 4 random buffs, those being plus 2 HP, plus 1 max HP, battle plan, or sharpen the blade, which is plus 1 damage, and of course battle plan is spend 1 less elemental die. But you get 4 random effects or random buffs from these 4 possibilities, and they can indeed be 4 times 2 HP, so total of HP, 8 HP, or total of 4 HP and plus 2 damage. Of course, these are instance based, it's not a stacking, which is bit of a shame in my opinion. If the damage was a stacking type, you know, if you get it 4 times, it's plus 4 damage, that would be pretty cool, but it does not stack, and of course neither does the battle plan. Like here it says the next skill the target character uses cost 1 less elemental die, but in truth it gives you battle plan. But anyway, you can get a random 4 buff combination out of these, and the reason why I ended up with Eula, of course, HP is good for Eula, HP is good for any character, no surprise there. But because Eula's elemental skill, as you know, or might know, you want to do Eula's elemental skill always twice. Because the first elemental skill you do only deals 2 cryo damage, but after that you get the Grim Heart effect, or status, so that your next elemental skill deals plus 3 damage, so a total of 5 damage from your next elemental skill. And considering you can get battle plan or plus 1 damage, multiple stacks of either of those buffs, combining it with Eula's elemental skill is actually a pretty decent, you know, trick you can do. Since, you know, battle plan makes it easier to play that double skill, and the extra damage makes it so that the initial only 2 damage kill does a respectable 3 damage instead. Not to mention the damage buff also helps with the burst as well, as well as the battle plan, as those both make. Since you know how you play Eula, you usually do a double skill, then you burst, and by that point Eula is often dead. So having that battle plan, having that HP, having that extra damage makes spamming Eula early game more viable. So yeah, this whole deck just came about because I wanted to make a deck that could use Roulette special that wasn't Yungasaurus. Other than that, of course, some basic food engine stuff, bit of extra damage, bit of extra die, some draw power, and as we are running Frost Imperative 1 talent card for it. Oh yeah, and actually I am running Other Side of the Frost Moon, simply because the 4 cost Roulette special is expensive. You could very well use another Arcane as well, but Other Side of the Frost Moon works. But yeah, this deck, quick note before we hop into the replays, this is nothing special. Like, you absolutely can win games. I won games, but this isn't the sort of you just snap your fingers and win every matchup. No, this is more of a much more casual than my usual decks I showcase. Usually I showcase decks which are like As long as you get the right cards, you can win basically any matchup. But this is once again one of those more casual decks where if you just want to play Eula, you can try this out. Anyway, let's get into the replays. And for the first match, we have a Sara Catalyzed deck. Now, of course, these sorts of decks have been very popular this patch, and no surprise, since Sarah's talent card got buffed and we got the Catalyzed Transfiguration, making them very, very... actually, I think the best aggro decks in this patch all are Catalyzed decks, I think. Starting hand wise with this deck, you want to get some draw power mostly, and ideally at least one cost card, so you get that value from the other side of the Frost Moon immediately round 1. Always start with visual, because of course we do want to activate the Transfiguration. There's no reason not to, or to wait around activating this. It's better to just get it as soon as possible.
The threads of your fate lie in
And
my
here
hand.
you saw this is what I do like in 90% of the matches. Visual skill, switch to Eula. Eula skill, switch back to visual, play the arcane at some point. Depending on whether you get something like Sealy, which is really nice when you get the discount on it or not. And like also like 80% of the matches you want to switch back to visual, since your opponent can otherwise threaten a reaction or a lot of damage onto Eula. And of course we want to keep Eula healthy for round 2, and we try to go for her burst if possible. If you are wondering where the Roulette special and such comes into play, that's just in the process of doing this game plan we get to set up our food engine, then that's where it comes into play. But most of the time with this deck, Roulette special, it is the late game surprise that makes your opponent go, oh god damn it. That's what the Roulette special does for this deck. It is the... Oh hey, I got 8 HP from playing one food card. Good luck taking me out now. Here of course a little unfortunate. I could not burst Eula this round, but since my opponent isn't able to take her out, it doesn't really matter. And of course I did waste 3 dice there, but I didn't want to tune since Eula is so low HP, and you know, I guess I could have played the WoW and die, but at least this way I certainly get the first turn and I'm able to burst Eula. By the way, I don't remember if it was this or last patch or when, but Eula's burst has been buffed a little. The initial damage of her burst is now 4 instead of 3 that it used to be. This number right here used to be 3 back in the day.
Please hold for just a moment.
Of course, sniping Sarah here are very ideal. There's no more electro for my opponent, no more discounts from their blessing. And this is what I said about the Roulette being the late game. It's just played to keep Frost operatives safe, and also this way, like battle plan Shaw and the Blade, come next round it's very easy for me to take out both of their characters. Also, we are going for the deep freeze blessing with this deck. Of course, because if we took the extra damage from reactions one, we only have visual, and you know, we aren't doing so many reactions that the electro blessing or electro version of the blessing would actually provide any great value. But with this deep freeze we actually get some decent value out of it. Not to mention, because it counts physical damage, Eula's burst summon can activate the blessing's effect. Anyway, let's get into the next game. Now, I did mention there at the start how this deck is nothing special when it comes to actually winning games, and Spirit Speaker is one of those where I have both win and lost against different Spirit Speaker decks. Usually it comes down to how well the opponent is able to keep their Spirit Speaker healthy. Because of course, for example, in a matchup like this, they can stack up shields with Sitlali, so the Frost Operatives Bond of Life doesn't really get to stack up onto the Spirit Speaker, and if they are using a lot of healing cards, then they are able to spam the Radiant Hues. On top of, if they don't have any other forms of shields, they can stack up the shields from Radiant Hues, and that way stop me from applying a bunch of Bond of Life, which of course means my opponent is able to keep their Spirit Speaker healthy. If that makes any sense. My point here being that against Spirit Speaker it's a bit of a hit or miss depending on what your opponent is playing. If they are only going for healing and trying to, you know, save up Radiant Hues for that, I don't know, round 4, round 5, where they do nothing but spam Radiant Hues, then you can probably take Spirit Speaker out early, but if they are going, if they get that, you know, double Swift Shadow early, get to stack up a couple of shields, then taking out Spirit Speaker is actually quite difficult. Since we are mostly relying on matchups like this to get that Bond of Life from Frost Operative and deny our opponent from doing any healing. That is the very reason why I went to Frost Operative in this matchup instead of for Eula, because I saw Kokomi, I knew that they are going to go for Kokomi, they want to get Kokomi, like in this scenario the best thing they can get is Kokomi Burst. Sitlali skill a bit late of course, because now Frost Operative Burst will just take her out, there's no way for them to get rid of 10 stacks of Bond of Life. Since I haven't lost yet, there's no worry on ending my round on Frost Operative. Like firstly it's unlikely that they can take out Frost Operative this round, so Sitlali being taken out would be basically guaranteed, like so. And even if they somehow, you know, got, I don't know, something, footnotes or something to, you know, get a shatter on the Frost Operative and somehow take her out, of course Vicious Summon plus Eula skill would have still taken out Sitlali there with the reaction. So yeah, in this matchup, it seems very easy, but if your opponent actually knows how to play Spirit Speaker, which of course is spam Spirit Speaker skill whenever you are facing against aggro decks, in those matchups it's much more difficult to actually get that kill on Spirit Speaker. And so my opponent gives up. Anyway, let's get into the next game. Now for the next game we have Ifa Swirl with the Electro Transfiguration. Now of course if my opponent was running Kazuha here I would be a bit more scared, because Kazuha not Kazuha, Heizo. If my opponent was running Heizo I would be a bit more scared, but they are running the new, what's the guy's name? Windcutter. They are running Windcutter. And this guy really only gives you cards. Like, I'll be honest, I haven't even bothered playing this guy because he is just so boring. All he does is give you cards.
What's your battle plan?
Like, what are you gonna do? Okay, yeah, the burst is a prepare skill. I'm gonna buff it with Yansan. Anyway, I just think this guy is a boring character. He's a support. He's a Nemo support character. That's all he is. And in a deck like this, like, of course, my opponent is spamming Ifa here. Going for Frost Operative would have been also a very good option for a matchup like this. The reason I went to Eula instead of Frost Operative was because my opponent went for that 5 cost Electro Hypostasis skill. I wanted Eula to tank most of that damage, and ideally round 2, just before Eula gets taken out, I could get her burst out. I mean, because I had Adeptus, it was, in my opinion, more valuable to do it this way. Not to mention, we now have Eula's Grimheart effect status. Grimheart status to deal extra damage onto Ifa. And I mean, the moment my opponent no longer has Ifa, they are kind of limited on what they can actually do.
Shut up!
I did end up playing Mystic Soup instead of, saving the satiated for the Adeptus Temptation, but the simple reason was because otherwise there would have been the threat of a normal attack plus this blessing activating and taking out Eula.
Mind the wind.
Little bit avoiding the reactions here.
The banquet must go on.
Why? Because as you see here, I got the Fury. On the Frost Operative I saw the possibility to take out Ifa. Of course, my initial plan here was to just get another shooting or another similar effect on the Frost Operative, but since I got that Fury, it was better to threaten my opponent that Ifa gets taken out or they have to switch characters. And of course, without Ifa, that deck's swirl potential is very much limited, because once again, Wind Cutter just doesn't do anything except draw cards. And since my opponent has lovely 4 HP on the Hypostasis, 1 elemental skill procs the revive and makes it very easy to take Hypostasis out, and if they switch characters, it is an Adeptus burst. Like so.
Please hold for just a moment.
Of course, unfortunately, you can see 2 dice left over. I don't really have a way to finish off the game. And my opponent gets... How did they... Yeah, there. Called in for cleanup, meaning that they are able to take out Frost Operative in 1 hit here, meaning that I cannot use the Onslaught to take out Hypostasis. Going to visual, actually bit of a mistake, because of course the elemental skill does 2+3 damage, so optimizing the amount of HP, going for Eula instead of visual would have been better, but my opponent still didn't have any way to deal any more damage, so I still win the game. Anyway, we have one more replay for today. And for the last game, my opponent is running the 1 round OTK, or round 1 OTK with Flints. Definitely a harder matchup if they are able to pull off the full combo on round 1, since I have really no way of, interfering or, stopping them from doing that. Of course, the Passing of Judgment Arcane card is the full counter to that deck. But I'm running other side of the Frost Moon. I go for preemptive macaronis, of course. If I see that they go for Flints here, go for that round 1 sweep. Playing the macaroni should help me attack just a little bit more damage that they wouldn't be able to take me fully out in 1 round. But let's wait here as they play a handful of their cards. Like so. You can see the classic stuff here. Blessing of Amfu. No, yes. Out of Kafrina on the Tulpa late. Another Footnotes, another Blessing of Am. Another Heart of Kafrina, not even playing the Ball Princess. And we saw here They weren't able to pull off a round 1 sweep, meaning I get access to my deep freeze, and of course thanks to toy card dealing physical damage we actually get to cost increase at least 1 card in my opponent's hand before they play everything. That's once again 1 less card for my opponent to actually, or 1 less dice for my opponent to actually play here. Or get use on flints. It's just a bit more expensive for my opponent to try to sweep this round. And of course now I have the damage bonus once again on Eula, so if they go for flints, I only really need 1 secondary damage bonus to take him out. And like honestly, seeing how much dice, like they had 12 dice there, my opponent definitely should have swap stalled. Of course I would have answered that with swap stall of my own, but they definitely should have swap stalled. Gamblers of course doesn't really provide any real value here, but you know, going for styling points, of course I play it. And my opponent gives up the moment they lose their carry. So yeah, today was a bit shorter one for me at least, or for my videos. Usually it's 30 to 40 minutes when it comes to my videos. Anyway, a shorter one today because the deck was nothing special, but if you want to play Eula, if you want to try out a deck that actually uses the Roulette food card, you can try this out yourself. Though, of course, in these replays you didn't get to see me play the food card itself much, but it usually comes into play whenever the game goes on a bit longer. All of these matches were quite short. But trust me, it works in this deck. It has clutched me games. And sometimes it has given me 4 stacks of +1 damage and I'm screaming and shouting at what is this bullshit. Anyway, I see you all next time.